Shocking article has been released about Kelsey Mitchell's future with staying with the Indiana Fever.
The Indiana Fever locker room just got hit with a bombshell. Reports are swirling that star guard Kelsey Mitchell has demanded a massive pay raise, throwing the entire front office into chaos. After years of loyalty, the franchise now faces a brutal choice: reward their veteran scorer or risk losing her to free agency.
One of the biggest conversations of this offseason that we is not talking about enough is this Kelsey Mitchell situation. Now, we know the CBA negotiations and all that is going on. See, last offseason, for those of us who's been here reporting since last year, we know Kelsey Mitchell was the talk of the town last offseason. Now, she was the talk of the town. Her and the new coach was the talk of the town as well. But what's more important is Amber Cox let it be known that keeping Kelsey Mitchell was top priority.
With CBA talks already shaking the WNBA, Mitchell's bold move could ignite a financial war that changes everything for the Fever. But behind closed doors, the tension isn't just about money. It's about power, legacy, and control.
The article starts off by saying Kelsey Mitchell's Fever future at stake in WNBA CBA negotiations. Damn, that right there had me like, damn, I gotta click on this.
When the news broke that Kelsey Mitchell was demanding a massive pay raise, it sent shockwaves through the Indiana Fever organization. This wasn't just a routine negotiation, this was a bold statement from one of the league's most respected scorers.
Now, pending another possible extension, the WBA and the WBPA have 20 more days to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement before a potential work stoppage comes.
Mitchell, known for her consistency and leadership, has been the foundation of the Fever's rebuild. But now, insiders say she feels undervalued, not just financially, but in how the team recognizes her influence.
Now, at the start of a new era in women's basketball, it means that some of the league's major players could be making surprising decisions about where they will play. Now, Kelsey Mitchell is not the only name that is in this pool of players. You have other WNBA stars as well.
Her current contract, worth around $249,000, represents the league's max. Yet compared to what others are earning off the court through sponsorships and brand deals, that number suddenly feels small. Behind the scenes, tension reportedly erupted between management and Mitchell's representatives.
Now, this is the section that goes on to talk about Kelsey Mitchell. Now, Indiana Fever guard Kelsey Mitchell will be one of the most converted players on the market when she likely, particularly every WNBA player not on a rookie contract, reaches free agency this upcoming spring.
Amber Cox, the Fever's general manager, had previously called Mitchell a franchise cornerstone. But those words now feel empty as negotiations grow colder. Sources close to the situation claim Mitchell's camp is frustrated by the team's hesitation to offer a long-term extension or additional incentives. She believes her value goes beyond box scores. She's a veteran who carried the Fever through some of their darkest years. And now that the franchise is thriving with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, she refuses to be sidelined.
Now, they said Kelsey Mitchell it's going to turn into a household name. Now, Mitchell's salary as of right now is $249,000, which is the max for any WNBA player. Now, she's 29 years old. She's in a position to accept a lower figure if she wants to build a super team in Indiana.
Fans, meanwhile, are split. Some argue she deserves every penny for her loyalty and performance. Others worry her demands could disrupt the chemistry of a team finally finding success. Social media has been on fire, with debates erupting about whether the Fever should meet her price or risk letting her walk. As the front office scrambles to contain the fallout.
Who's going to be willing to sacrifice their bread to make sure they get a ring in Indy? Because we have several players. You have Sophie Cunningham, you have Lexi Hall, you got Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark is straight up under rookie contracts. So they don't have to sacrifice any bread. But who's going to be the person to say, you know what, I'm going to take less so we can get more role players? And that's something that has not been talked about.
The timing couldn't be worse. The WNBA's ongoing collective bargaining talks already have every executive on edge. And Mitchell's demand only adds more fuel to the fire. What began as a quiet contract discussion has now turned into a full-blown crisis. And deep inside Indiana's headquarters, one question echoes louder than ever. Is Kelsey Mitchell worth the chaos she just unleashed?
The Indiana Fever, and I just want to blow this up real quick, and have a face-to-face conversation, because this is the first time you guys are going to hear about this in the whole genre. The thing with next year's team, what we need to focus on, we don't need no more superstar players. We have superstar players. We have Aaliyah Boston, we have Kelsey Mitchell, and we have Caitlin Clark. Y'all want to know what we need? We need more role players. We need more Sophies, more Lexis. We need more role players.
The timing of Kelsey Mitchell's demand couldn't have been more explosive. The WNBA and its players' union are knee-deep in collective bargaining negotiations. With both sides fighting for a bigger piece of the pie, the players want higher salaries, better revenue sharing, and improved working conditions. The league, on the other hand, is trying to balance financial growth with stability. And right in the middle of this high-stakes tug-of-war stands Kelsey Mitchell, a player who has spent her entire career proving her worth and now wants to be paid like it, according to multiple reports. The WNBA has less than a month to finalize the new CBA before potential disruptions hit next season. Some insiders fear a lockout could be on the horizon if no deal is reached. For players like Mitchell, this uncertainty is dangerous. A new agreement could reshape salary caps, bonuses, and endorsement structures overnight. But it's also an opportunity if the right deal is struck. Veterans could finally see the financial recognition they've been fighting for. Mitchell's demand, then, isn't just personal, it's political. She's forcing the conversation about how much the league truly values its stars, compared to rookies who attract massive media attention. Behind closed doors, Fever executives reportedly see Mitchell's timing as strategic, maybe even confrontational. They know the optics. If they deny her raise during this historic negotiation window, it could look like they're undermining a player's right to fair compensation. But giving in could open the floodgates for other veterans to demand similar treatment around the league. Players are watching closely. A'ja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and others have hinted that this round of negotiations will define the future of women's basketball economics. For the Fever, however, it's a nightmare. They're stuck between a loyal star demanding respect and a new era led by Caitlin Clark, who represents the future of the league's marketing power. The question now is whether Indiana can find a balance, or if Mitchell's stand will tear the team apart before the new season even begins. Kelsey Mitchell's demand isn't coming from desperation, it's coming from leverage. For years, she's been the quiet engine behind Indiana's success, producing numbers that rival some of the WNBA's biggest names. She's averaged over 15 points per game, maintained elite shooting percentages, and carried the Fever through seasons when few even believed in them. Now that the spotlight is finally back on Indiana thanks to Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, Mitchell wants her share of that recognition and the paycheck to match. Insiders say Mitchell's negotiation team is playing this masterfully. They've studied the WNBA's financial trends, watched how superstars like A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart built leverage through media presence. And now they're using the same playbook. Unlike rookies still earning under their initial contracts, Mitchell has earned her freedom to demand top dollar. But this isn't just about salary. Sources claim she's also seeking longer-term stability, potential incentives tied to team success, and even input on future roster moves. To her, it's not just a contract, it's a statement of power and respect. The Fever's front office, however, isn't thrilled. They've already maxed out budget flexibility while building around their younger stars. Caitlin Clark's marketability has brought a financial boom to Indiana, but it's also complicated the hierarchy. Clark sells jerseys, fills arenas, and dominates headlines, while Mitchell, despite her skill, often plays in her shadow. Some executives reportedly worry that giving Mitchell a huge raise could send the wrong message internally, signaling favoritism or instability. But Mitchell's supporters see it differently. They argue that she earned the right to cash in long before Clark arrived. She built the foundation this team now stands on, and ignoring that loyalty could backfire. As the tension grows, one thing is clear: Kelsey Mitchell's demand is more than a paycheck request. It's a power move aimed straight at the heart of the Fever's leadership, daring them to decide who truly runs this team, the stars on the floor, or the suits in the front office. Inside the Indiana Fever camp, the conversation has shifted from contracts to chemistry. The front office knows that while stars win headlines, role players win championships. And right now, the Fever are dangerously top-heavy, with Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston leading the charge. The team's salary structure is already bending under pressure. Add in Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, two rising names who've become fan favorites, and the roster starts to look more like an all-star showcase than a balanced unit. Team insiders say the real issue isn't whether Kelsey deserves a raise, it's whether Indiana can afford it without breaking its chemistry. Mitchell's demand for a bigger paycheck could force the front office to cut depth players or pass on key free agents, leaving the team thin when it matters most. During last season's playoff push, Indiana's biggest weakness wasn't talent, it was rotation. They lacked reliable bench scoring and defensive grit. Without reinforcements, that problem will only get worse. Stephanie White, the Fever's head coach, has repeatedly emphasized the importance of role players. She often references teams like the Golden State Warriors, how their dynasty wasn't built solely on stars, but on selfless contributors who filled gaps and sacrificed egos. The question in Indiana is whether that same selflessness exists. Would Kelsey Mitchell be willing to take a small cut to build a stronger team around her? Or will her push for financial recognition limit the Fever's ability to compete long-term? Fans are torn. Some praise her confidence and leadership. Others say she's prioritizing the wrong thing at the wrong time. In a league where locker room dynamics can make or break a season, the Fever now face an identity crisis. They have the talent to dominate, but not the financial breathing room to build around it. And as Mitchell's standoff intensifies, it's becoming clear that Indiana's biggest battle this year won't be against another team. It'll be against itself. In every heated sports debate, someone eventually brings up the Golden State Warriors, and for good reason. Their dynasty wasn't built on one superstar, but on a culture of sacrifice. Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, and even Draymond Green accepted less money and smaller roles to create a system that thrived. It's this very formula that Fever coach Stephanie White keeps pointing to when she talks about building something sustainable in Indiana. But there's one major problem. Sacrifice is easier to preach than to practice. For Kelsey Mitchell, that message hits differently. She's been through the losing years, the roster shakeups, and the rebuilding phases. Now that Indiana finally has momentum, she wants to enjoy the rewards that come with it. In her mind, she's earned it. But the front office is quietly asking the same question. Fans are debating, should Mitchell pull a page from the Warriors' playbook and take less to keep the Fever balanced? Stephanie White believes in building a deep bench, players who can step in, contribute, and defend without ego. She knows that's what separates good teams from great ones. But that kind of unity only works if the veterans buy in. If Mitchell insists on a massive raise, it could create a ripple effect. Younger players might follow her lead, and team chemistry could fracture before the season even starts. Behind closed doors, management reportedly floated the idea of performance-based incentives. Instead of a flat salary increase, a compromise modeled after NBA systems. That suggestion didn't sit well with Mitchell's camp, who feel she shouldn't have to prove her worth. After years of carrying the team, this is the fork in the road for Indiana. Do they chase immediate stability by keeping everyone happy financially? Or do they take a Warrior-style approach and prioritize balance over individual gain? Every decision from here will determine whether the Fever become a dynasty, or just another story of a team that couldn't hold itself together when the money got real. While fans focus on Kelsey Mitchell's contract, something bigger is unfolding behind the scenes, inside the Indiana Fever front office. Two powerful women, General Manager Amber Cox and head coach Stephanie White, reportedly find themselves on opposite sides of the negotiation table. Cox sees Mitchell as the emotional and competitive core of the franchise, the veteran whose presence keeps the locker room stable. White, however, is laser-focused on the system she's building. She values teamwork, spacing, and defense more than star politics. And that difference in philosophy is now creating a quiet but undeniable divide within the organization. Amber Cox has always been vocal about her admiration for Mitchell. During last year's offseason, she publicly stated that keeping Kelsey was her top priority. But as the financial stakes have risen, those words are being tested. Sources say Cox initially pushed to offer Mitchell a multi-year extension with player incentives, hoping to secure loyalty before the CBA changes take effect. Stephanie White reportedly disagreed, suggesting that the team should maintain flexibility and invest more heavily in depth players who fit her vision. Behind closed doors, that debate has turned tense. White believes that overpaying Mitchell could set a dangerous precedent. She wants to ensure that the team's long-term chemistry isn't jeopardized by favoritism. Cox, on the other hand, argues that Mitchell's leadership is priceless, that her experience and loyalty deserve compensation, especially in an era when veterans are often overshadowed by rookies. As the two power figures quietly clash, Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise adds fuel to the fire. Some insiders claim White is subtly shifting the team's identity toward Clark's style of play, while Cox still envisions a balanced roster anchored by Mitchell. The conflict remains internal, but insiders say one wrong move could explode publicly. If either side feels undermined, it could trigger a chain reaction, and the Fever's promising rebuild could crumble before it's even complete. As the Fever's front office battles over Kelsey Mitchell's future, another conversation is brewing, one that could reshape the team's entire identity. In the locker room, veterans and young players alike are beginning to whisper about a role player revolution. The belief is simple: to win a championship, Indiana doesn't need another superstar, they need soldiers. Players who do the dirty work, play defense, and take pride in the grind. The stars already exist in Mitchell, Clark, and Boston. What's missing are the glue pieces who can hold everything together when pressure hits. Stephanie White has been preaching this message for months. She's studied championship rosters across sports and knows that titles are rarely won by talent alone. During team meetings, she often points to players like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull as examples of what winning culture looks like. Hustle, sacrifice, and teamwork. These players may not grab headlines, but their consistency keeps the team's heartbeat steady. However, the question remains whether Mitchell, as the longest-tenured star, will embrace this shift. Some insiders worry she's too focused on getting the payday. She feels she's earned to buy into the team-first approach. Others believe that if she can be convinced to lead by example, to take slightly less money in exchange for stronger teammates, it could elevate her legacy from scorer to leader. Meanwhile, the fan base is split again. Some believe Mitchell should chase her bag, arguing that women's basketball players already face financial disparities. Others see the bigger picture: a championship window that could close fast if egos get in the way. If Indiana embraces this role-player revolution, it could spark a cultural shift throughout the league, one where sacrifice, not stardom, defines greatness. But if this movement fails, it may prove that in today's WNBA, personal value still outweighs collective victory. The Fever's next decision could decide which version of history they write. Kelsey Mitchell's pay raise demand might feel like an internal Indiana Fever issue, but its ripple effects are already shaking the entire WNBA league. Executives and player agents across the country are watching this saga unfold with growing intensity. Mitchell isn't just fighting for herself, whether she intended to or not. She's become the face of a larger movement, challenging how the WNBA values its veterans. If Indiana gives in to her demands, it could set a precedent that forces every other franchise to reconsider how they pay their stars. Other players, like Arike Ogunboel and Jewel Lloyd, are reportedly keeping tabs on Mitchell's situation, understanding that her contract could redefine future negotiations. Meanwhile, younger stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are shifting the league's marketing balance, earning massive endorsement deals that often dwarf veteran salaries. This has quietly created tension among older players, who feel the league's promotional focus has moved away from experience and toward viral popularity. Mitchell's stance shines a light on that inequality, and now everyone is watching to see who blinks first, the player or the franchise. For the WNBA front office, this couldn't come at a worse time, with the new collective bargaining agreement still unresolved. Owners are already bracing for higher salary caps and expanded media obligations. Mitchell's situation magnifies the exact problem the league hoped to control: how to keep both its emerging icons and its loyal veterans satisfied in a growing but uneven financial system. If Indiana stands firm, it could alienate players who value loyalty and dedication. But if they cave, it might open the floodgates for other teams to face similar demands. Either way, the message is clear. The power dynamics in the WNBA are shifting. Players are no longer just athletes. They're business forces, branding machines, and negotiators shaping the league's evolution. Kelsey Mitchell's decision might not just define her legacy. It could mark the moment when the WNBA finally enters a new financial era, where every dollar carries a statement about respect, equity, and power. Kelsey Mitchell's demand for a massive pay raise has become more than a contract dispute. It's a mirror reflecting the WNBA's growing pains. Her decision forces Indiana to confront what kind of team it truly wants to be. One built on loyalty and legacy, or one ruled by financial logic and star politics. No matter how this ends, the message is undeniable. Players now hold the power to shape their destiny. And for the Fever, that power struggle could either spark a new dynasty or ignite the downfall of everything they've been building.